Chapter 51 The Fourth Period of Official Inventory. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Orochimaru's return to Konoha has caused an uproar in the entire ninja world, especially the people of Sand Hidden Village were very dissatisfied with this matter. Of course, it's not their fault, because their Kazekage was killed by Orochimaru. It was precisely because their foaming was dead that they could only make a few random noises to show their dissatisfaction. As for concrete actions, they had no concrete actions. Today, Sunagakure village has reached its weakest moment. The village is eager for a young talent to step forward and lead everyone out of this moment of weakness. Unfortunately, there is no such person in Sand Hidden Village. Now the person in charge of their affairs is still the previous generation's mother-in-law Qiandai. Among the younger generation, there is only one Ma-ji who can barely read, and the rest are all crooked melons and cracked jujubes. The younger generation couldn't stand it, so Chio could only place her hopes on Gaara and his generation. Not to mention, since Gaara came back from Konoha village, he seems to have become a different person, although there is still some cold air pressure coming out from time to time, which makes people feel scared, but compared with the previous appearance, it is simply like heaven and earth. The change in Gaara's attitude made Chio's mother-in-law very happy. In addition, Temari and Kankuro's talents are also very good, which makes her feel that there is still hope for Sunagakure village. Anyway, she is full of expectations for these three siblings. I hope they can grow up smoothly and grow to the extent that they can protect the village. Therefore, for some of Konoha's operations, they could only knock down their teeth and swallow it in their stomachs, and did not dare to take any specific actions at all. They also hope that Konoha can continue to protect Sunagakure village during this period. Iwagakure, Hyumogakure, and Kirigakure, the three ninja villages who watched the excitement and didn't take it too seriously, had no objections when they saw the true master, and they didn't bother to care so much. As for the Akatsuki organization that Orochimaru had joined before, they gave up the pursuit after learning that this guy had returned to Konoha. Their main purpose is to capture the tailed beast. They are not completely ready at this stage and should not be too high profile. Moreover, they didn't pay much attention to chasing Orochimaru. Otherwise, with Black and White Zetsu's investigation and Pain's absolute force, Orochimaru would never be able to escape even if he could. At this point, Orochimaru's return to Konoha village, the giant of the ninja world, has come to an end. The day has come again for Light Screen to release an official inventory video. Many people came to the Hokage's office in both time and space. On Senju Tobirama's side were him, his 6 disciples, and the young version of the Sannin. Well, Hiruzen Sarutobi and Kagami Uchiha have returned from taking leave from the daimyo. After watching the inventory video, they have to rush back to the capital of Fire Country tomorrow. On the 3rd Hokage's side, in addition to the 5th Jiraiya and Orochimaru, Danzo Shimura showed up uninvited in the Hokage's office. Hiruzen, why are you gathering here if you are not staying at home at this late hour? Out of friendship with the other party, the 3rd Hokage couldn't say anything, but the 5th Hokage would not spoil him. Elder Danzo, please pay attention to your identity. Do we still need to report to you when we are gathered together? Snort. Danzo snorted and ignored Jiraiya. He looked straight at the 3rd Hokage, trying to get an answer from him. Hiruzen, don't try to fool me. I knew you had a gathering here half a month ago, and then Orochimaru returned to Konoha. You must be hiding something from me when you come here this time. How could Orochimaru hide this lyb from Danzo when he appeared in Konoha village? He had already sent people to secretly follow Orochimaru, until they got together here half a month ago. After hearing the report from their subordinates this time, the 3 people gathered in the Hokage's office again, and then he came to ask about it. This is it. Seeing that the 3rd Hokage looked very embarrassed, the 5th Jiraiya spoke up and said, Elder Danzo, you have overstepped your authority. Please get out now. The 5th Jiraiya didn't want Danzo to know about the existence of the light curtain. Seeing that the time was getting closer to 8 o'clock, he simply asked the other party to leave. Unexpectedly, Danzo didn't take Jiraiya's words to heart at all. He looked at the other person sideways and replied contemptuously, I'm talking to your teacher. You, a junior, have no right to interrupt. This made the 5th Jiraiya angry, and he immediately said sternly, I am the 5th Hokage of Konoha village, and you actually say that I am not qualified? I think you are an old fool. Elder Danzo, so be it, read on Elder Danzo is old and I allow you to retire from the root. From now on, you are no longer the leader of the root. Jiraiya, what the hell? Danzo was also very angry. He didn't expect that Jiraiya would dare to remove him from the position of leader. At the same time, he also understood that this matter must not be done, otherwise his position might really be in jeopardy. Thinking of this, Danzo decided to take a step back now and wait until later to discuss with Hiruzen so that Jiraiya would not step down from his position. Anyway, there were only a few people present, and with the third Hokage making peace among them, Jiraiya would not refute his teacher's reputation. Well, that's it. I think I can continue to work for a few more years, so I won't bother the fifth Hokage. After saying that, Danzo wanted to turn around and leave. Seeing that Danzo was subdued and wanted to leave, the third Hokage and the fifth Jiraiya breathed a sigh of relief. Orochimaru curled his lips. He thought Danzo would fight to the end. In this case, he can naturally become the new leader of the root. Result, that's it. Danzo, me. The third Hokage originally wanted to send Danzo away, but also asked him not to have the same experience as Jiraiya. After all, they have been colleagues for many years, and he doesn't want Danzo and Jiraiya to get into trouble. But as soon as he said the words, the time happened to be exactly 8 o'clock in the evening. The light curtain appeared on the desk in the Hokage's office on time. This is. Seeing the light curtain emitting soft light on the desk, Danzo said that he would never leave. Naturally, the third Hokage and the fifth Jiraiya also knew this. They did not ask Danzo to leave, but asked him to find a chair to sit down and watch by himself. So this is why you get together every half-month. Although he didn't know what the sudden light curtain was, he judged from the facial expressions of the other three people at the scene that this thing must be something serious. In his heart, he couldn't help but praise his behavior. How could he have seen this magical scene if he hadn't come to ask today? Danzo, I know you have many questions, and I will explain them to you one by one afterwards. I hope so. Danzo replied to the third Hokage. Then he took a chair and sat down, quietly looking at the light screen. Hello, dear viewers, I am a new member of a Tian. As usual, today's video was originally intended to talk about the fourth Hokage Namake's Minato. However, some readers said that they would like to see the inventory of Konoha Hotpot King Shimura Danzo. So in this video, let's take a look at the things that happened to Danzo. Shimura Danzo's eyes widened. He didn't understand what was happening now. Hiruzen, what is going on? Do you mean you want to talk about me? The third Hokage nodded and replied softly, what is said on the light screen is basically true. If your dark history is mentioned later, be sure to stay calm. Chapter 52 Mirror, Danzo, what the hell are you doing? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Dark history. Calm. Danzo secretly clenched his fists. If the light screen really exposes some things about him as the third Hokage said, then it cannot be solved by calmness. He did a lot of things without telling the third Hokage. Of course, in his mind, he did all these things for Konoha. However, this may not be the case in the eyes of others. Thinking of this, he glanced at the third Hokage and said to himself, I hope you can understand me. Old friend, Danzo Shimura is the chief commander of the hidden village organization of Konohagakure in the country of fire. Even if you are carrying a heavy iron pot, you have to work day and night at the forefront of helping others. He is a person who decided to devote his whole life to the village after graduating from the ninja school. He created the Root organization, aiming to leave a footprint in the bustling ninja world and help everyone in need. In this regard, the villagers affectionately called him Gor. But he always said that it was not just his efforts. A comrade in the same village, Uchiha Mira, often helps him escape from danger. Many years later, Kagami has been sacrificed and forgotten by others. Only Danzo keeps his benefactor in mind. Hiruzen, it doesn't seem like this will expose my dark history as you said. Danzo was confused. This doesn't look like he's trying to hack his own rhythm. If this is what the third Hokage calls exposing his dark history, then Danzo feels that he can increase his intensity. The third Hokage was also a little numb. When taking stock of him, the light curtain was not like this. Why is it that when Danzo comes here, he is showered with compliments? Well, something must be wrong. not only did the third Hokage feel that there was something wrong with the light screen, but everyone in Tobirama's office also felt that the light screen had drunk fake wine. Why do you keep praising Danzo? I see, you are just jealous and don't want to see me well. The younger version of Danzo was delighted. After reading the third Hokage's inventory and through some clues, he felt that he would be even more extreme than the third Hokage 40 years later, in order to figure out these things. When he was in Konoha 40 years later, he did not go to stop the enemy, but went to find the older version of himself from that period. Unfortunately, in just 1 hour, he failed to find his old self, and his efforts were in vain. When he was watching the light curtain today, he was particularly nervous. He was afraid that he would do something terrible in the future and be scolded by teacher Tobirama. It's fine now. Guangmu kept praising him, almost to the point of making him feel embarrassed. Praise? I can't see it, maybe it's sarcasm. Seeing Danzo's sullen look, Hiruzen was unhappy. What are you pretending to be? You don't know what you are. Don't we still know? Didn't you see that you were taking the blame on the screen? Could this be a good thing? Hiruzen, just admit it, you are just jealous of me. We'll see. Hiruzen was too lazy to refute him. He simply did not believe that Lin Tian would sincerely praise Danzo. He believed that there would be a big reversal later. He was right to believe that there would indeed be a big turnaround later, and it would come very quickly. When Lin Tian said that the Uchiha mirror had been forgotten, and only Danzo was grateful to him, the light screen was suddenly exposed. Danzo's right arm wrapped in a bandage was covered with Sharingan eyes, and all of them were still there. It's the Sharingan of the three Magatama. He used the Sharingan in his hand to remember his lost comrade. Danzo, what the hell are you? Uchiha Mirror was angry. He stared directly at Danzo, wishing he could beat this guy to death. Danzo also panicked when he saw himself with Sharingan hands on the light screen. He quickly explained, Jing, you have to calm down, it's not me who's up there. Yes, Jing, you must calm down. Senju Tobirama was also surprised. He didn't expect Danzo to be so heartbroken and crazy, but just as Danzo said, it was not him on the light screen, but the evil he had done 40 years later. Tobirama could forgive the things the third Hokage did in the last issue, and the same goes for Danzo. He thought very clearly that with the intervention of the light screen, Hiruzen and Danzo would definitely not make the same mistakes again. It makes no sense to use the original trajectory to condemn current people. Mirror, Danzo will definitely not be like this anymore. Yes, with the light curtain, teachers, and our presence, Danzo will never become the person in the picture. Everyone is trying to persuade Uchiha Mirror. The look of the mirror is really too scary, not to mention that the Mangekyo Sharingan is activated. The whole person's aura is like that of a beast, as if it can tear people into pieces if they don't pay attention. Teacher, everyone, don't worry, I understand all this. Kagami took a few deep breaths and closed the Mangekyo Sharingan. He understood everyone's advice. He also knew that Danzo 40 years later was not the same person as Danzo now, but he just couldn't help it. Originally, he was very concerned about the destruction of his family, and he also believed that the third Hokage was responsible. At this time, he looked at the light curtain and discovered that the culprit was Danzo. It was clear just by looking at the Sharingan on his arm. If he was not the culprit, then where did he get so many Sharingan? Don't worry, Danzo. If I want revenge, I will seek revenge from the person who will be 40 years later. It has nothing to do with you. Thank you, Mirror. After hearing Kagami's reply, Danzo breathed a sigh of relief, but at the same time he was quite dissatisfied with himself 40 years later, and even looked down upon him a little. The power of the Sharingan is indeed very strong, but can you become Hokage if you look like a human and a ghost? I'm afraid it's even harder. Who would let a monster with a handful of Sharingan become Hokage? The ninjas of Konoha village are all shameless, right? I don't know what's going on with Old Monkey, but I estimate that his face must be very ugly at this time. Young Danzo was right. At this time, the third Hokage's face was really not good looking. It was green, white and black, and he could open a dyeing workshop. In addition to him, the fifth generation Jiraiya and the elderly Danzo himself also looked bad. On the other hand, Orochimaru seemed normal. After all, Danzo's right hand was successful with his help, but he didn't expect that Danzo's right hand containing Hashirama cells was for the purpose of inlaying the Sharingan. I have to say, this guy is really brave. Elder Danzo, do you want to explain? But with that said, Jiraiya the fifth generation glanced at Orochimaru, and the latter immediately pulled up a chair and sat at the door of the office. The purpose is self-evident, just not to let this guy get away. Danzo appeared calm on the surface, but actually he was panicking on the inside. He ignored the fifth generation Jiraiya's question, looked at the third generation Hokage and said, Hiruzen, do you believe me? That the third Hokage smacked his lips and replied in a deep voice, even if you say so, I. Just tell me whether you believe it or not and that's it. Danzo interrupted the third Hokage, and in a stern tone forced his old friend to take sides. The third Hokage was helpless. On one side was an old friend with whom he had been friends for many years, and on the other side was his own student. The palms and backs of his hands were all fleshy, and he was in a difficult position. In the end, he said softly, Jiraiya, let's finish watching the video first and then deal with Danzo's matter. The fifth Jiraiya nodded, while betraying the teacher. He also wanted to know what else Danzo, this disgusting guy, could do. After watching the light curtain, let's settle the old and new accounts together. Chapter 53 Jiraiya, QNMD Danzo. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. The light screen gave a large close-up of Danzo's right hand, and Lin Tian's voice continued to speak. He used the Sharingan in his hand to commemorate his lost comrade. The red pupils are particularly dazzling in his hand. At the end of the Three Ninja War, the rising orphan organization in the Rain Country, Akatsuki attracted Danzo's attention. The leader of the organization, Yahiko, is troubled by the lack of partners. It's Yahiko. The fifth generation Jiraiya sighed. After the 3 wars that year, the 3 disciples he accepted in the land of rain were Yahiko, Nagato, and Konan. In order to teach the 3 people, he stayed in the kingdom of rain for 3 years, which can be said to have put in a lot of effort. As disciples of his toad sage Jiraiya, the 3 of them should have had a bright future. It's just that God doesn't fulfill people's wishes. Over the years, when he was searching for the Son of Destiny in the ninja world, he also learned something about these 3 disciples. Knowing that they all died in the Kingdom of Rain many years ago, the past was unbearable to look back on, and when he saw Yahiko's appearance again, Jiraiya the 5th generation was left with nothing but melancholy, etc. Looking at the light screen, he suddenly thought that today's video was an inventory of Shimura Danzo's life. So why did Yahiko appear on it? Could it be that Yahiko's death was because of Danzo? Thinking of this, Jiraiya quietly moved behind him to ensure that Danzo had no escape route. At this time, Danzo extended an international helping hand. Promoted the close cooperation between Yuin Village and Shao for decades. Danzo, I didn't think so much at the time. The rise of young people was a good thing. I admired Yahiko and the others' desire to seek peace for the ninja world, so I contacted the leader of Amigakure, Sancho Hanzo, and facilitated the cooperation between the 2 groups. Finally, with the help of Hanzo, Yahiko got the opportunity to work hard for 100 years less and only need to work hard again after 18 years. Hanzo and I are also very happy about this. QNMD Danzo. Seeing this, how could the 5th Jiraiya not understand that Yahiko was killed by Danzo and Hanzo together? Thinking that Yahiko, who was so sunny and cheerful and had great enthusiasm for the world, died under the conspiracy of these 2 old guys, Jiraiya the 5th generation couldn't help it. He punched Danzo's face with his powerful and heavy fist. Warm greetings were given. What, you agreed to settle the score together after watching the video? No. He, the 5th Hokage Jiraiya, is going to kill Danzo now. Well. Danzo didn't expect the 5th generation Jiraiya to be so irritable. He was still thinking about the past when he tricked Hanzo into dealing with the Akatsuki organization, and he didn't react at all to Jiraiya's attack. This fist hit hard. Jiraiya, are you crazy? Covering the right side of his face that had begun to swell, Danzo looked at Jiraiya the 5th with an expression of resentment. He has lived for so many years, and even his father has never beaten him like this. Why would Jiraiya, a junior, dare to hit him in the face with such force? Jiraiya, calm down. It's important to look at the light screen to understand the information. We can talk about Danzo's matter after we finish reading it. After punching Danzo hard, 5th Jiraiya's anger was slightly reduced. In addition, with the 3rd Hokage in the middle to break up the fight, he had no choice but to let Danzo go first. Hiruzen, this is the good disciple you taught. The 3rd Hokage snorted and said nothing. At this time, he also became more and more disgusted with Danzo. Jiraiya told him about the affairs of Yahiko and the three of them after he returned to the village. If things develop normally, without Danzo intervening to cause trouble, it is very likely that the 3 disciples of Jiraiya will become the top leaders of Amigakure village. By then, relying on Jiraiya's relationship, even if Amigakure village does not form an alliance with Konoha, its attitude towards Konoha will definitely be better than other ninja villages. Logically speaking, this kind of shinobi village, which naturally has a good intention towards Konoha, should work hard to protect it. As a result, Danzo, an old guy, not only failed to defend himself, but actually killed these 3 people. It's true that there is more than enough success and more than failure. Still want to be Hokage? I see you're thinking shit. The 3rd Hokage had already thought about it. When the light curtain ended, he, Jiraiya and Orochimaru would take action to catch him, and his end will be to go to jail. Yes, the soft-hearted 3rd Hokage, even though he was unhappy with Danzo now, did not want to kill him. After all, he has been a partner for many years. Just let him die of old age naturally in prison. This is the 3rd Hokage's last act of kindness. A conflict broke out on the 5th generation Jiraiya's side, and he punched Danzo. It's quite peaceful here in Senju Tobirama. The main reason is that they don't know the relationship between Yahiko and Jiraiya, and after seeing Danzo's full Sharingan, they no longer have any expectations for what will happen next. Anyway, in their opinion, Danzo has completely changed after 40 years, and it is not surprising that he can do any bad things. Outside, Danzo enthusiastically lends a helping hand to the orphans. Inside, Danzo is also concerned about the growth of Konoha orphans. Provide welfare for the orphan pharmacist in the village who is highly myopic and has difficulty making a living, and take him home to train him. Kabuto Yakushi did not let Danzo down, and went abroad to study with his excellent results. Now he has become the secretary to the leader of Otonin village, which has greatly promoted the friendly relationship between the 2 major ninja villages of Konoha Otogakure. Kabuto Yakushi, I have suffered hardship myself, and now that I have the ability, I naturally want to help children who are suffering like me. After I went abroad, I was often acclimatized, but when I recall Danzo-sama's kind face, I feel much better. Now I inherited that gentleman's will and founded the Badlands Reincarnation Alliance to seek welfare for all sentient beings in the ninja world and help everyone realize their dreams. I should really ask Kabuto to come over and take a look. At the door, Orochimaru looked at Yakushi Kabuto who was being interviewed on the screen, and let out an inexplicable laugh. Orochimaru, what are you laughing at? The 3rd Hokage was curious about why Orochimaru was laughing, and at the same time he wanted to liven up the stiff atmosphere in the office. It's nothing, I just think that Elder Danzo is really a good man, otherwise I wouldn't have the chance to accept a good subordinate like Kabuto Yakushi. Orochimaru was indeed very satisfied with Kabuto Yakushi. His own strength was secondary. What he valued most was Kabuto Yakushi's mind. In the entire Sound Ninja village, only Kabuto Yakushi could keep up with his thinking. The light screen said that Kabuto Yakushi inherited the will of that adult, and Orochimaru was certain that the so-called adult should be him. As for the Dirt Reincarnation Alliance, this is very clear. Kabuto Yakushi will definitely cause trouble after his death, and it will be big trouble. It's just that a few people from Huetu came out, but it can't be considered an alliance. Only when a large number of people come out of the dirty soil can it be considered an alliance. So why does Yakushi Kabuto want to bring out a large number of people from the dirty soil? Just thinking about Orochimaru was interesting. Snort. Danzo did not respond to Orochimaru's teasing, but had a gloomy face, not knowing what he was thinking. Chapter 54 Everyone wants to kill Danzo. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. The ninja world is like a small boat on the sea, and Danzo, who is willing to help others, is like an indispensable pot in life, moving it wherever it is needed. Danzo operates at high speed in an unconventional way, checking for leaks and filling gaps for Konoha's top management, working hard. Danzo, the Uchiha incident was indeed too stressful. Hey, I found that my body was indeed not as good as before. I felt hungry as soon as it was time to eat, wanted to drink water when I was thirsty, and my eyelids bulged late at night. This year, Danzo was diagnosed with scapegoat syndrome. This rare disease cannot be cured. The patient's body parts will gradually stiffen, transform into a vegetative state, and even lose his life. At this time, Danzo on the light screen turned into a big tree, causing the young people watching in Tobirama's office to take a breath. Teacher, are Shodame-sama's cells really that dangerous? Tobirama nodded and replied, yes, brother's cells are very dangerous. If you are not careful, you will turn into a big tree like Danzo in the picture. Speaking of this, Tobirama had some guesses in his heart. Danzo's right hand was undoubtedly implanted with Hashirama cells. The reason why he didn't turn into a big tree, but was still alive and kicking, was probably because of the Sharingan in that hand. So, can the Sharingan suppress Hashirama cells? Tobirama thought that when he had time, he could study it carefully, or go to Danzo 40 years later and ask for information. After thinking for a moment, he shook his head. In his opinion, Danzo will die 40 years later. No matter how high-sounding his reasons are, it can be seen from his research on Hashirama cells, his actions to destroy the Uchiha clan, and his murder of orphans in the village. This man has committed a heinous crime and is hopeless. If the third Hokage couldn't do it because of old feelings, he wouldn't mind doing it for him. This guy is really disgusting to him. If he doesn't kill him, it won't be enough for the people to get angry. Danzo couldn't bear to delay the operation of the village, so he used crutches and stayed at home and at work. Until the news that Shisui, the descendant of the mirror, was seriously ill, reached Danzo's ears. Seeing Shisui being called his descendant on the light screen, Kagami's expression became slightly calmer. Shisui, who suffers from eye disease, will lose his sight at a young age. In order to have a bright future for young people, and to repay the kindness of his comrades, Danzo spent his savings to cure his scapegoat syndrome, and in the most gentle way, he said, "You are my eyes. Danzo, you really deserve to die." Kaoru, whose expression had calmed down just now, became angry again after seeing Shisui on the light screen and having his eyes taken away by Danzo. Danzo shrank his neck, saying that it was none of his business, and tried his best to reduce his presence. Hiruzen Sarutobi, Koharu, and Tsunade-chan were also very angry, not to mention that Shisui is a descendant of his comrades. Even if he is an ordinary Konoha villager, he should not choose to kill each other for power. Sarutobi. Hiruzen and the other friends looked at each other and nodded to each other. At this moment, they made a decision together. Danzo, 40 years later, must die. Konoha village does not allow such evil people to exist. Old man, look at it, this is your good companion. In response to Jiraiya's question, the third Hokage took a puff of cigarette and murmured softly, "I was still wondering why Shisui died suddenly. It turned out to be Danzo who did it." Originally, the third Hokage did not want to destroy the Uchiha clan. Although their clan is not very smart, they are still very strong and can play the role of thugs in the village very well. Everything was going according to his plan. Shisui, who has the Mangekyo Sharingan, will definitely be able to gain enough say in the family as long as he is given a little more time. At that point, the village will just need to clear out those radical elements. Unexpectedly, Shisui suddenly died disrupting his plan. In the end, Uchiha could only take that dead end. It's just a pity that Shisui's eyes are the ones that can change a person's will, right? By the way, with such a powerful pair of eyes, Danzo cannot possibly destroy them. 100% he will transplant the eyes into his own body. The third Hokage subconsciously glanced at Danzo's bandaged right eye. Was only one transplanted? Thinking of this, he quickly walked to Jiraiya and whispered to him, "Jiraiya, I suspect that Shisui's Mangekyo Sharingan is there and has been transplanted to Danzo. Don't talk yet, listen to me." The fifth generation Jiraiya nodded and said nothing. The third Hokage continued, "The ability of Shisui eyes is very powerful. It is called Betsu Tenjin. It can directly invade the opponent's brain and modify the opponent's will without being discovered by the opponent." Modify your will. Upon hearing this, Jiraiya Godai frowned. If that's the case, it's a bit tricky. If my attitude suddenly changes without warning, it's probably because I'm being controlled by Danzo. You must be careful. I understand, maybe he will choose to control me, or Orochimaru. No matter who you are, you must be vigilant. To be honest, Danzo really had the idea of using other gods, it's just that the third Hokage's reaction speed was too fast, and he had already told Jiraiya about it before he could use it. At this time, no matter whether he changes the will of any of the three people, he will be discovered by the other party. Once discovered, the power will naturally be reduced. In order to ensure nothing goes wrong, Danzo decided to continue to lurk and wait until the right time to use the other gods. On the light screen, Shisui, with his eyes closed and still bleeding, was accepting an interview. Shisui, that day, my eye disease suddenly broke out and I started to bleed for no apparent reason. Fortunately, Danzo was nearby at the time and called the most authoritative doctor to treat me on the spot, and together they helped me permanently solve the problem. Without him, I wouldn't have been able to do anything. I don't know what to do. I am very grateful to him and thank Danzo from the bottom of my heart. Danzo was very humble in expressing his gratitude to Shisui. Danzo, in fact, there are many high-level officials like me in Konoha. Even when they are in trouble, they still do not retreat and are willing to lend a helping hand. That day, there seemed to be a problem with the office chair of the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. Considering the potential safety hazard, Danzo sent his men to hold Hiruzen away from work. It was said that he was holding back, but actually what was shown on the screen was the scene of Hiruzen being assassinated. Old man, you are really too soft-hearted. That guy has sent people to assassinate you, and you still haven't killed him yet. The third Hokage laughed bitterly when he heard this, and thought to himself, I was indeed too soft-hearted. If I had used the topic to my advantage at that time and completely removed Danzo from his position, there would probably not be so many things in the future. Chapter 55 Danzo became Hokage. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Danzo took advantage of this time to help Hiruzen get a new office chair. Both are high-level officials in Konoha, and after decades of friendship, Hiruzen always receives an unexpected surprise from Danzo. The third Hokage, he manages dozens of people, and travels around the ninja world to deal with affairs every day. He is very thoughtful when he can take the time to think of me. The third Hokage covered his face, feeling a little embarrassed to see others. For a certain period of time, he really had this mentality, it's like a superior person watching the inferior person jumping up and down, trying to take his position. The results of it. All these actions were within his expectations. These actions can only add some fun to his ordinary days, nothing else. It's just that, now that he knows that Danzo has done so many things behind his back, the third Hokage is also a shameless person. He is so embarrassed that he almost digs out the 3 rooms and 1 living room with his feet. On the light screen, the video continues. During the battle against the #1 terrorist organization in the ninja world, Danzo silently stood behind and built a solid air barrier for the villagers. Let every villager breathe fresh air. Konoha villager, thank you, I really appreciate it. At that time, the non-mainstream person who wore earrings did not care about hygiene. He came to the village to poison. He flew into the sky and farted so big that the house collapsed. If Danzo-sama had not inhaled the fart in large gulps and then used wind release to purify the air, the whole village would have been so sick that they couldn't eat at night. Look at Tsunade-sama, who was too close to the source of the fart, and she fainted from hunger just because she couldn't eat. The villager who was interviewed and what he said was hilarious. But everyone watching could not laugh at all, because they saw from the light screen, a mysterious man appeared in the sky above Konoha, and then used some ninjutsu to expand outward from the center with him, and Konoha village was razed to the ground by him. No, it's not flat ground either. It would be more accurate to say it's a big pit. Who is this person? Why does he want to destroy Konoha? What technique does he use? Looking at the ruins of Konoha village, Hiruzen Sarutobi was very excited and afraid. He couldn't think of any ninjutsu that could turn Konoha into what was in the picture in an instant. It's really terrible. Senju Tobirama did not answer Sarutobi Hiruzen's question because he didn't know how to answer. He clenched his hands and looked at the light screen solemnly, trying to see more details from it. Unfortunately, the image of Konoha being destroyed did not last. long. No matter how good Senju Tobirama's observation skills were, he could not see anything more. The only thing that can be determined is that the time point on the picture happened more than 40 years later. Jing suddenly spoke at this time, waking up everyone who was in shock and fear. Why are you looking at me? Do you think I'm crazy? I won't be able to speak anymore. Jing smiled faintly, apparently having recovered from his initial anger. The mirror is right. At this time, Tobirama spoke again and said, if I guess correctly, in the history, without our intervention, Tsunade will become the 5th Hokage of Konoha. After saying that, Tobirama turned to look at the confused little Tsunade, and said to himself, I hope Konoha will not be defeated by him. The 5th Hokage is Tsunade, doesn't that mean the village is going to end? No need to ask, among everyone present, only little Jiraiya would say such a mindless thing. His words directly caused little Tsunade's fist to come into close contact with his cheek. Asshole Jiraiya, if you don't know how to speak, don't speak. Kochimaru smiled silently on the side. With Tobirama's careful guidance, Orochimaru quite enjoyed the playful atmosphere among his partners. Of course, the fight mentioned here is actually little Tsunade beating little Jiraiya. If it involves him, then I would be sorry. No way. Will the village encounter such a big crisis in the future? No coincidence, the ruins of Konoha exposed on the light screen not only frightened the 5th Jiraiya and the 3rd Hokage, but even Danzo was shocked. Yes, he dreams of becoming Hokage, but if the village is destroyed, then he will still be of no use as Hokage. Danzo, Jiraiya, do you know who is the person who destroyed Konoha? There is no face of this person in the picture. Through interviewing the villagers, the 3rd Hokage only knew that this person had earrings and was a non-mainstream person. He knew nothing else. He could only look at Jiraiya, who had been in charge for many years and had been traveling for a long time, and wanted to hear what he wanted from these two people. Unfortunately, when the two of them faced the 3rd Hokage's gaze, they both shook their heads. Hiruzen, I thought about it carefully, and there is no information about this person in my memory. Old man, I don't know anyone who is not mainstream. Hearing this, the 3rd Hokage sighed and turned to look at Orochimaru sitting at the door. Do you know something? Of course Orochimaru knew, regardless of whether it is the #1 terrorist organization in the ninja world, the back figure on the light screen, or the unconventional appearance of earrings, these conditions all point to the same person without exception. Then let's look at the boss of the Akatsuki organization, Pain. However, knowing it, he may not say it out loud. With Pain's ability to destroy Konoha with one blow, even if he told the other party, it would only increase his troubles. Not to mention, besides him, there are several other people in the Akatsuki organization who can fight. It's better to stay stable for a while. Can't the light curtain connect the villages, past and future? Orochimaru felt that when he was connected to the 1st Hokage's Senju Hashirama, it would not be too late for him to talk about the Akatsuki organization. Unfortunately, I don't know either. With a weird smile, Orochimaru answered the 3rd Hokage's question. Yeah. Yes. That day, Danzo, who was still energetic after inhaling too much poisonous gas, became the acting Hokage surrounded by the villagers. Ahahaha, Hiruzen, did you see that? I finally became Hokage. No way, how can someone like you become Hokage? Danzo is so happy, he finally took the position of Hokage that he had longed for, especially when he saw the disbelieving expressions on the faces of the 5th Jiraiya and the 3rd Hokage. Even if he was not out of danger at this time, he could not hide his good mood. Nothing is impossible. Can what is revealed on the light screen be false? After hearing this, the two fell silent. Compared to the destruction of Konoha, they couldn't believe it even more. Just like Danzo, why could he become the Hokage? Why should he be Hokage? Unless it's a usurpation, yes, that must be the case. Chapter 56 End of the 4th Period of Inventory. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The light screen showed that Tsunade was seriously injured and unconscious when the mysterious man destroyed Konoha. Without the leadership of the Hokage in the village, it is not impossible for Danzo to suddenly appear and fight for power, and to bewitch the great names of the Fire Country. What Lin Tian said about acting as Hokage can also prove this. Tsunade is unconscious and cannot abdicate. Danzo wants to be Hokage, so he can only act as an agent first. In this way, the logic makes sense. After figuring this out, the 5th generation Jiraiya and the 3rd generation Hokage breathed a sigh of relief. Konoha can let anyone be the Hokage, except Danzo. Neither of them spoke to disturb Danzo's excitement. They were going to take care of him when the light curtain ended. It doesn't hurt to make him happy. Danzo, who became the acting Hokage, was not proud. Even before his seat was warmed up, he spared no effort to replace Tsunade and rushed to the distant Iron Kingdom to participate in the 5 Kage conference to seek peace for the shinobi world. The 5th Jiraiya and the 3rd Hokage, just as I thought, they became acting Hokages while Tsunade was in coma. At the same time, at the meeting, he also had to deal with the remaining issues of Konoha's rebellion. Finally, let us connect with Danzo, the Hokage who is fighting against the rebellious ninja Sasuke. Will Sasuke become a traitorous ninja in the end? At this moment, everyone in the Hokage's office looked at Orochimaru at the same time. After all, they all knew that Uchiha Sasuke was now Orochimaru's disciple. Don't worry, as long as I'm here, Sasuke-kun probably won't become a rebellious nin. Orochimaru understood the logic of Sasuke becoming a rebellious ninja in an instant. If the 2nd Hokage Senju Tobirama and others did not interfere during the Konoha collapse plan, then he should have killed the old man and successfully evacuated Konoha. For the sake of Sasuke's body, he would definitely send someone to Konoha to seduce him to give up Konoha and go to Otogakure. With Sasuke's desire and pursuit of power, this shouldn't be difficult to accomplish, but what makes Orochimaru a little confused is that since Sasuke has come to Otogakure, he should be in his pocket, regardless of whether he was reincarnated immediately or 3 years later. Sasuke had no reason to survive. Could it be that something happened to him that caused his reincarnation to fail? Or maybe, when he was reincarnated, Sasuke killed him. Orochimaru thought for a moment and thought it should be the latter. On the light screen, the hostage held hostage by Danzo was Xiang Phosphorus. If something hadn't happened to him, he would never have released a Uzumaki tribesman with a special physique like Xiang Lu. Thinking this way, it was in line with his expectations for Sasuke. After all, Sasuke will be a more powerful person than himself in the future. On the light screen, Danzo, who was bleeding from the corner of his mouth and looking embarrassed, was holding a man with glasses and red hair, and was being interviewed by reporters. Reporter, how do you feel about becoming Hokage now? Is it worth it to pay so much and neglect your own life? Danzo, it's not just worth it, it's simply worth it. I just did what I should do. This is my position. Even if I die heroically, I should still fulfill my responsibilities. Reporter, thank you. Danzo, you're welcome. In the picture, Danzo used the 4-elephant seal in one shot and successfully ascended to heaven. If I hadn't known that Lin Tian was sarcastic, maybe I would have believed it. The corner of Jiraiya Godai's mouth showed a little disdain, and his tone was also full of ridicule. The 3rd Hokage nodded, acknowledging what the 5th Jiraiya said. This made Danzo very angry. Of course, the main reason is still because of the light curtain. He finally became Hokage. How could he die so quickly? Or die at the hands of Uchiha Sasuke? This is really unreasonable. At this moment, he was already planning that after he successfully overcomes this difficulty, he would secretly kill Sasuke. Even if he had to face the lunatic Uchiha Itachi in the future, he wouldn't care so much anymore. Everyone in the Uchiha deserves to die anyway, either early or late. We will all die. The following is a summary of Danzo's inventory. For 73 years, you have been working hard. The leader retires and you remain silent. My classmate is promoted, and you are heartbroken. In the relationship between the village and the clan, you are sowing discord. Young talent, you sneak attack in secret. Working hard to take the blame is your last stubbornness. No matter how many pots come, they can't compete with the words from your mouth. You are the Konoha bathing in the sun, and I am the root buried deep in the ground. Chapter 57, Other Gods. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Teacher, what did you just say? I didn't seem to hear you clearly. What did Danzo Shimura hear? The second-generation Hokage Senju Tobirama sensei he had in mind, actually asked him to commit suicide. Danzo would rather teacher Tobirama reprimanded him severely. even if he was taught a lesson in the name of training, he did not want to hear the other party say such words. Danzo, face reality and save some dignity for yourself. Listening to teacher Tobirama's cold and ruthless words on the light screen, Danzo felt extremely painful in his heart. When he retreated from Kyomogakure, he was only slightly slower than Hiruzen Sarutobi for 1 second, and the position of the third Hokage left him. For so many years, he has worked diligently in Konoha, and everything he has done is entirely for the development of the village. Even if he is burdened with infamy, he must make the village strong. He has done so much. In addition to wanting to become Hokage, he also wants to prove to Senju Tobirama what a wrong decision it was to choose Sarutobi Hiruzen as the third Hokage. Only he, Danzo Shimura, can lead Konoha to glory. Only he, Shimura Danzo, is the first candidate for the position of Hokage. In the end, not only did he get the title of a scapegoat, but he was also humiliated by the mysterious light curtain. Does his respected teacher Tobirama want him to commit suicide? What the hell is this world? It was obvious that Senju Tobirama's denial was the biggest blow to Danzo. At this time, he was already looking like a madman. With a ferocious face, he pointed at the light screen and said, "No, you are not Mr. Tobirama, you are just a fake pretending to be him. I don't know about others, but the real Tobirama-sensei will definitely understand me. I have always used his method to protect Konoha. It's impossible for the real Tobirama-sensei to deny me." After hearing these words, Senju Tojin wanted to say, "Fart." He admits that his thoughts can sometimes be a little dark, but everything he did was to prepare for a rainy day. The purpose of studying forbidden arts is to enhance his strength and enhance the village's heritage. Moreover, he does not use people from his own village as guinea pigs. Although he divided and isolated Uchiha, he still received the treatment he deserved. As long as Uchiha didn't act like a monster, he would still be the #1 ninja family in Konoha. He was not so cruel as to deliberately kill Uchiha people in order to study the Sharingan. Danzo, on the other hand, he did not study the Sharingan, but directly embedded it in his hand. He also designed to destroy the Uchiha clan for the Sharingan. Such a bad and cruel technique. You told me you learned it from me? Damn it, Danzo, you old boy, don't talk nonsense, or I'll sue you for slander. Senju Tobirama was angry, and he wanted to refute Shimura Danzo's words, but when he saw Danzo who was already on the verge of madness, he didn't want to say anything more to this guy. Anyway, no matter how much you say, Danzo probably won't be able to listen. Then he looked at the third Hokage and asked, "Monkey, do you need our help?" Tobirama's meaning is very clear. If you can't do it, I don't mind doing it for you. After all, there are several people here who are already trying to kill old Danzo. You don't need the teacher to take action, I will take care of it. Okay, if that's the case, let's set the transmission time for tomorrow. Orochimaru, prepare the cloning information. I'll take a look at it when I come. Don't say you're not studying cloning. Okay, second Hokage-sama. Don't worry, I won't let you suffer. I will also bring my research information on cloning. That would be perfect. The time for communication has come. When the light curtain disappears, the atmosphere in the office suddenly becomes solemn. The third Hokage looked at his old friend with a complex expression and said, "Danzo, the teacher is right, leave some dignity for yourself." Humph, if you don't want to be decent, I don't mind helping you be decent. The fifth Jiraiya knew that the third Hokage couldn't do anything, so he immediately took a step forward, pressed Danzo, and continued to put pressure on him. Danzo was really under a lot of pressure. After just finishing the conversation with Senju Tobirama, he was already thinking of ways to escape. It's just that the third Hokage's position has completely blocked his escape route. Run backwards. Orochimaru at the door is not a vegetarian. Even if Orochimaru couldn't withstand his attack, as long as there was a little delay, the third Hokage and the fifth Jiraiya would be able to arrive, run forward and jump out of the window. That's not okay. Danzo's position is on the left, the fifth Jiraiya is behind his right hand, and the third Hokage is in front of him on the right. If you jump forward through the window, you will be attacked by the third Hokage and the fifth Jiraiya, neither the front nor the back. For today's plan, there are only other gods. Thinking of this, Danzo secretly used Bitenjin, known as the most powerful illusion, on the third Hokage. The reason why he used it on the third Hokage instead of the fifth Jiraiya and Orochimaru was simply because the third Hokage was the teacher of these two people, with the third Hokage assisting him, he might not have to run away. Danzo, just surrender and capture him, you can't run away. Danzo ignored the fifth-generation Jiraiya who was speaking, but looked at the third-generation Hokage whose will had been modified by other gods. Hiruzen, do you really want me to die? The third Hokage didn't realize his will had been modified. He took 2 puffs of his cigarette and said with difficulty, Danzo, disband the root and hand over all the Sharingan, I can guarantee your survival. Keep your word. Danzo was secretly happy, what's the big deal about disbanding the root? As long as he is still there, he can always rebuild a new root, and the third Hokage is still under his control. Maybe he can find an opportunity to let the third Hokage abolish Jiraiya's position as Hokage and let himself be the sixth Hokage. As for handing over all the Sharingan, it is a problem, but it is not a big problem. At most, I can steal it out later, the third Hokage is my man. What's the point of a mere Sharingan? The whole Konoha will be ruled by me, Danzo. Old man, what are you talking about? Danzo was secretly happy on the side, but the fifth Jiraiya looked at the third Hokage in surprise. I know what I'm saying. Danzo has worked hard for Konoha for so many years. Even if he has no merit, he has worked hard. Let's spare his life. At this time, the quick-reacting fifth-generation Jiraiya had already noticed that something was wrong with the third-generation Hokage. He had just promised the second generation that he would deal with Danzo, but why did his attitude change all of a sudden? Thinking about Koto Amatsukami that the third-generation Hokage had told him, he immediately realized that the old man was controlled by Danzo. Old man, listen to me. Knowing that the third-generation Hokage was controlled, the fifth-generation Jiraiya did not alarm him, but came to him and whispered. Old man, do you know that you have been controlled by Koto Amatsukami? Chapter 60 Bai Jue, we are not afraid of death, we are all strong-boned. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. In the fifth-generation Jiraiya's office, Danzo went to explain to the third Hokage and the fifth-generation Jiraiya what Izanagi was. Next to him, Senju Tobirama looked at Orochimaru and said. Orochimaru, take me to your laboratory. Let's take the time to study it together. Okay Nadim-sama, it's my pleasure. Orochimaru wants to know what Izanagi is and can bring Danzo back from the dead, but he cherishes the opportunity to cooperate with Senju Tobirama even more. Izanagi could ask Jiraiya afterwards. The opportunity to cooperate with Senju Tobirama only comes once a month, and each time is only for an hour. Knowing that the opportunity was rare, he even channeled a small snake out to inform Yakushi Kabuto to come and meet him quickly. This shows how much he values Yakushi Kabuto's talents. An hour passed quickly, except for Danzo, who looked a little stinky. The other 4 people all gained a lot. When Tobirama got along with Orochimaru and Yakushi Kabuto, a lot of inspirations burst out, which made him feel that his trip was worthwhile. Xiaochun and the others also bought something novel for themselves in the market, especially Chiurao Feng. He did not return to the Akimichi family, so he followed Xiaochun and Yen to buy something in the market. He bought a lot of novel and delicious snacks anyway. When he went there he was empty-handed, but when he came back he had a big bag on his back. At that scale, he would have no shortage of snacks for at least half a month. Huh? What happened? Senju Tobirama, who returned to his own time and space, asked when he saw the extremely messy office. Second grandpa, we don't want to either. Who can tell this guy is dishonest and dares to resist after we find out? After hearing what little Tsunade said, everyone saw that there was a pale humanoid creature under the buttocks of Orochimaru and Jiraiya. What happened? Tell me in detail. Yes, second grandpa. Little Tsunade left them immediately. Bai Zetsu appeared, and then they took action to subdue Bai Zetsu and told Senju Tobirama. After hearing what little Tsunade said, Tobirama came to Bai Zetsu thoughtfully and asked. Are you sent here by Madara? Hearing this, Bai Zetsu, who had already accepted his fate but still had a smile on his face, replied, as expected of the second Hokage, he can really guess it right. After confirming his guess, Tobirama did not continue to ask any more questions, but became interested in Bai Zetsu himself. You don't seem to be afraid of death. Yes, We Bai are not afraid of death, we all have strong bones. Us? There are many like you. Yes, we are all Madara-sama's subordinates. Whatever he wants us to do, we will do it. Seeing Bai Zetsu being very cooperative, Tobirama's interest in this product was immediately increased. Through a few conversations, he had already noticed that creatures like Bai Jue seemed to have no human emotions, so, how was this White Zetsu created without human emotions? Jiraiya, Orochimaru, take him to my laboratory. Okay, Hokage-sama. In the evening, another Bai Zetsu who had made an appointment with the possessed Tobirama Bai Zetsu to meet once a month did not expect anyone at the designated place. He instantly realized that something might have happened unexpectedly. Well, I'm just a detective Bai Zetsu anyway. If something goes wrong during the mission, it's none of my business. Let's leave it to Madara-sama and Zetsu-sama to deal with the headache. No, if he forgets the agreed time and I run to report to Madara-sama, I'm afraid I will be blamed afterwards. Well, I'd better wait for a while. Late at night, in the mountain cemetery, Uchiha Madara's lair. Madara staying at home can be said to be quite bored, because the tube of the heretic golem was stuck in his back to extend his life. It was not very convenient for him to go out. Of course, he didn't really want to go out, unless he wants to make some plans in the ninja world and he has to take action. He will cut off the pipe behind him and step out of the room. Nowadays, the ninja world is peaceful, and it is not yet time for him to take action. Zetsu, has there been no news from Konoha yet? Hearing Madara calling him, Black Zetsu stood up unsteadily. Not yet. I remember I decided to report once a month, right? Heiju nodded and replied, yes. Then there should be news coming back at this time, unless Heiju said, unless something unexpected happens. Spot nodded and shook it again. The concealment ability of Bai Jue's spore technique is very strong. As long as they don't initiate it, the person possessed by them will not know that they are possessed. Madara could not imagine that anyone in Konoha village could see through the spore technique. No, it's not none. At this moment, he thought of that woman, the Uzumaki Mito who married Hashirama and, became the nine-tailed Jinchuriki from his side. If it were her, she might actually be able to detect Bai Zetsu using the spore technique. By the way, Jue, whichever Bai Jue you sent as the liaison officer, even if the possessed Bai Jue had an accident, he should have sent the news back by this time. It's Bai Zetsu number 233. Hearing this, Madara looked at Black Zetsu with an idiotic look and said, you sent a White Zetsu who thinks he has procrastination to be a liaison. Does he think he has procrastination? I don't know. I thought he was the chatterbox White Zetsu. Didn't I burn that chatterbox White Zetsu to ashes? Lord Madara, please forgive me. Black Zetsu was very straightforward and bowed to Uchiha Madara. At the same time, he was also complaining in his heart, damn, there are so many White Zetsu, and they all look almost the same. How can he know who is who? Oh, it's so stupid. I can't believe you are the incarnation of my will. Black Zetsu, as if you are not stupid. The 61st year of Konoha's ninja world. After a day and a night of travel, Danzo finally entered the territory of the Rain Country. With his brain, he naturally knew how many people would come to assassinate him when the news of his defection from Konoha appeared in the ninja world. Now, as long as we hurry a little further, we will be safe. After entering the hidden rain village and finding the salamander Hanzo, the title of the demigod in the ninja world can still scare most people. The weather in the Rain Country is still so nasty. The Rain Country lacks everything except water resources, because it rains here 300 days a year out of 365 days. The neighboring Wind Country is almost crying with envy. It is precisely because of their envy that when the Hidden Sand Village launched the Second Ninja War, the first target of the attack was the Rain Country. If there is no other way, I really don't want to come to this broken place. Compared with the Fire Country where the 4 seasons are like spring, other places in the ninja world are broken places. Helplessly, in order to survive, he can only come to the salamander Hanzo. At this time, on a high tower somewhere in the hidden rain village, feeling the strange chakra coming from the rain tiger free technique, tender pain frowned subconsciously. Who could be the source of this chakra? Do you need me to go check it out? On the side, Konan, who was wearing Akatsuki uniform, asked calmly. Okay, if this person does anything bad, kill him. Understood. Looking at Conan leaving, Pain thought for a moment and still felt uneasy, so he quietly followed her.